Hmm. All right, so I've pushed it forward because people are saying it's too late. It's too late. So I decided to start the broadcast a little early. I'm good. How are you guys doing? How are you doing? All right. So, hello, hello, hello. So, I decided to start a little earlier because it's a little late for people in Europe. So, I'm going to try to be a little bit better with my scheduling going forward. So, I'll just wait for a decent number of people to come on. When we get about 100 people, then I'm going to get into the subject. And then I will do a bit of Q&A, and then we'll take it from there. I'm doing pretty good. How are you guys doing? I am good, Khalid. Khalid Boudrari, watching from Morocco. Cool, cool. You are welcome. You're welcome. Hello, Rob. How you guys doing? We are live. It seems it did. I decided to start earlier because people were talking about the fact that it's getting late for them. What came first, the chicken? What came first, the chicken or the egg or the chicken? It was chicken or the egg. Actually, egg came first. That's what happened because when the chicken was invented through evolution, it was some cross between two other species. So the egg came first, of course. Love from Canada too. Back right at you. All right. Ohio here. How was Canada? It's kind of a dreary day. Cold, rainy, terrible. How are you? Is OOP important for front end developer? Maybe if you're using a something like React or something, or you may have to get into that. But generally speaking, no, it's more for back end stuff. Depending. Latvia, watching from Latvia. That's not cool. The rooster came first. Yeah. All right, so we're at 45. We're getting there. Yeah. There we go. I've learned a lot from you, but I want to know how to get a job outside of India because people here, because a lot of work politics. I think you would want to leave. I talk about this a lot. I'm going to have to. I'm going to have to deal with that in a specific video. It's a lot to talk about. Hi from Iran. How you doing? Hey, Karen, how are you? Hello from Southern California. What part of Southern California are you from? I have relatives in Altadena. Hi from Vancouver. Raining too, huh? Yeah. How much of your business is affected by the bug going around? My tech business, nothing at all. Other stuff that I'm involved with, one thing was hit pretty hard. Another thing, nothing so far, but who knows? What kind of question is that? We are talking programming here, not fertilization of a chicken. Do you prefer procedure or OOP PHP? If the project has any scope to it, meaning it's a decent size, then I'm kind of more OOP oriented. But if you're just pushing out some smaller projects, then you might as well go procedural. Just make sure your code is clean and well structured. Bonjour Stéphane, as-tu des conseils pour un nouveau sysadmin? So Techie Compute was asking in French, do you have any, how do you say conseil in English now? Consultations is basically, do you have any advice for people who are new sysadmins? I don't know. Where are you working? What kind of job is it? I think get to know people, learn to communicate well. I think that's something I would say. Stefan, did you have trouble reading official documentations for programming language? I often have to resort to tutorials for explanations. A lot of times documentations are really bad. So that is not unusual. You are not the only one. So that's one of the things I talked about is that documentation often means the difference between success and failure in open source projects. Documentation is huge. All right. Let's, where is 60? We're almost there. Let me just jump into the subject because the pre-record, and then I'll get into the questions, okay? So let's go. So this is a question that was sent to me a little while back. Is this coming through here? Hold on back. I just zoom this out. So this is a question that was sent to me a while back. I decided to keep it. I got so many questions. So somebody was asking about server security. What can you do, as a beginner to web development, web design? And these are just some basic tips without getting too much detail, but it's a starting point for you guys. So number one, firewall the crap out of your server. Lock down all ports except what is absolutely required. Port 80 is where web traffic comes in by default. So great firewall is huge. This is for web app development where you have a database-driven website. You want to minimize database access points, obfuscate where the database is accessed. I used to do that all the time where it was where I actually queried the database and so forth. It was actually obfuscated in the code base. I would have to do some demos. Number 3, be sure all SQL statements are clean. SQL injection protection. This is all standard stuff, by the way. It's nothing mind-blowing here, that's for sure. Have very clean, modular, fine-grained code. Much harder to hack. Yeah. One of the things that made WordPress a nightmare to deal with is that when it would be hacked, it was such a convoluted code base that it was very hard to track down where the hackers were injecting all their nefarious code. But if you have very clean modular code, fine grain means that you don't have huge chunks of code that do 20 different things. You want a chunk of code that does one thing. That's it. It's a lot easier to find hacks in this type of simplified code base, and it's a lot harder to hack in a sense because there's less chance of errors and holes developing. Number 5, have active firewall rules or prevent multiple attacks. That's the denial of service attacks. Good firewall applications will have that ability. This is kind of old school. Again, like the modern firewalls take care of all this for you. Have active rules and processes in your app's code to block multiple attack attempts. So you can build that right at the app level where you get too many types of queries and so forth. Again, you have to engineer this on a per app situation, but you can do it on the app level. That's all to take away from point number 6. Number 7, make it policy that users have to have hard to crack passwords and, if possible, usernames. For example, administrators should not have the username admin or administrator. Believe it or not, one of the main reasons why people get hacked is just because of bad usernames and passwords. To that effect, number 8, if it makes sense, use two-factor authentication, meaning even if you have a password access to a particular resource in your system or even any of your accounts, you should use two-factor authentication so that before somebody can log in, a text message has to be responded to that comes to your phone, right? So even if they guess your password and so forth, they won't be able to get in without your cell phone. Number 9, all connections are under SSL. It's, again, basic stuff. And here it says, use managed servers who spend their time managing patching servers. So I used to have my own servers. I used to install, set them up, have them at our location, but I'd have to patch them, update them. When we had a kernel problems, we had to update the kernels ourselves. It's just like a nightmare. So now I just use managed servers. I don't have to deal with that. It just makes life a lot easier. All right, so there you go. That's it. That's the. I'll put this in the video notes when I archive this video for you guys. So that's pretty much it. So we're going to go into some Q&A now. And we'll take it from there. Let's see. Let's reduce my brightness a little bit. Okay. Let's go back up. Aisha says, forgive the basic question. No worry about that. All questions are good. How do I get the spammers to stop scraping my site and responding to my comment box WordPress plugin? It's not such a simple thing there. Responding to my comment box WordPress plugin. You mean so they're just commenting in an automated manner into that WordPress form item? Well, I think it's if that's the case, it's a weakness of the plugin, I suppose. I'm not sure if I quite understand your question, but I think that's what it is. Let me know. Hey, yo, I am choosing a major for upcoming study, and I feel overloaded with choices. I love game dev, security am interested in general IT. I enjoy coding and interact with people. Please help. Okay, so he wants to choose his major. What I would do is, again, in my 7 rules, my 7 laws of coding, I think law number 6 is let the market help you decide. So check out to see what the job opportunities are. And then when you check that out, look at the type of companies that hire the different types of professions that you're looking at, and see if you'd like to work at those types of companies, not specific companies in general, but those types of companies, if that makes any sense. Let's see what we got here. It's WordPress, WP Forms. They send me emails from their spammers. Okay, so you have a form to get emails so people can contact you. It's like a contact you form, and they just spam you. Yeah, well, that's the plugin. If you're using a plugin, that's the plugin's going to have to come up with some sort of update. I would, or one thing you could do is you got certain spam words. You could just use, if you Google Mail, for example, and have Google Gmail filter for particular keywords. That's a temporary fix, not very good. Or you have to choose another plugin that inserts a form into your WordPress that has some anti-spam capabilities. Okay, what else do we got? I'm going to go down. Let's go. Greetings from 4 hours in the future, watching from the other side of Saturn through a virtual window that will eventually be created from C#. There you go. I'm just starting Python. I've done JavaScript before. Any advice for me? No, just write code. Since you've done JavaScript before, you should be able to learn Python pretty quickly. I think the thing that might frustrate you is that you have to use spacing and return carriage returns. There we go, to denote code blocks as opposed to curly braces. I prefer languages that use braces personally, but that's just me. What you might want to do is get a good Python code editor like PyCharm or Visual Studio Code. That might help you. Sorry for unrelated question, but my Laravel app isn't showing images when transferred to another computer or when uploaded to Heroku. Mind looking at my code? No, sorry. I got my own code to look at. Sorry, guy. Post it on a Laravel forum, perhaps. That just sounds to me like you're hard linking. Your image paths. Use relative links as opposed to absolute. What else do we have? Okay, I'll try another plugin. They supposedly have spam filtering, but isn't effective. Yeah, well, check the. There must be a community. I think on WordPress they have like little conversations underneath each plugin. See if there's any chatter about that. There might be some solutions for you. What else do we got here? How do you get your first freelance project? That should be one of my FAQ videos I should create. The first freelance project is derived by contacting either local businesses or people online and offering to do some simple jobs for free. Just so you start building some connections, some skills, and some reputation. What are the advantages of hosting a website on the likes of AWS, EC2, etc., or Google Compute Engine over conventional hosting, GoDaddy? Power and flexibility. Um, with more advanced hosting solutions like the AWS, EC2, etc., you have tremendous capability in terms of scaling and sharding your databases and all kinds of sophisticated mechanisms, which most websites won't need, by the way. Won't need. I kind of use like a hybrid approach. Something I use a company in Canada around here, and it's kind of like a hybrid between traditional and a VPS. So it has all kinds of capability in terms of auto scaling and so on, and auto backups and instant restores and all kinds of cool stuff. But it also has the ease of use, like with a control panel and so on. So I don't have to have SSL Linux masters to make small changes to things, you know. How much to ask for a project? What are the criteria to choose a price? Based on the scope of the project, how many hours you're going to put in, etc. The type of work you can argue as well. I cover all that in my freelance course. I teach you how to price out and how to bid and how to collect, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Let's see, we got Music Man says web devs had to always use the wrong tools for layout, tables, floats. Yeah. Why did it take two decades to come up with a decent tool, CSS grid being layout such a fundamental part of web design? That is a very good question. And the answer is twofold. Number one, there was a lot of resistance with the major players, the big one being Microsoft, in terms of allowing web technologies to replace traditional app development technologies. So Microsoft saw the web as a threat to their Windows dominance. They felt everything revolved around Windows. So they were not wanting to, they didn't want to make it easy for people to be able to create good apps with web technology. So they were very resistant to provide that capability. But at the same time, so how is this relevant? Because at the time, Microsoft dominated the web browser world with Internet Explorer. They had a huge, huge lead until Chrome came along. But that took a long time. Ironically, Microsoft was crucial to making web apps as we know them today possible. They did two big, huge innovations. They came up with the first hypertext application, HTA, where you allowed you to turn your websites into apps that could access local machines in COM. Although, let me just scratch that. That wasn't so big in terms of the big evolution. But they came up with inner HTML, which is, if you've done my JavaScript course, you know what that is. It allows you to easily update portions of your page with very little code. And I believe Microsoft invented Ajax as well, which allows you to do all that asynchronous server communications, which is key to turning a web app to give it a rich client feel, if you will. So they did that, but that's changed since then. And the other reason, Microsoft has changed since then, where they now fully endorse cross-platform web app development, and they've done a lot for that. Google, of course, because of who they were always motivated to do that. And the other problem was that CSS was originally designed to style documents. HTML was designed to create documents, not user interfaces. So cascading style sheets and the rules, the CSS rules, are really about styling documents, not about laying out user interfaces. That's what happened. That was the big part of it. And like any organization that has too many co-equal people in charge, meaning there's no one person to set the direction. It took a long time before they finally came up with the CSS grid and the Flexbox capabilities. CSS tables also helps a lot with that. And it's about bureaucracy. It's about also browser makers resistant to implementing. I think the CSS3 standard was in place years before it actually got implemented in a practical way in the web browser. So there you go. But you're right. CSS of language, CSS 1 and 2, I think there's a 2. Yeah, CSS 1 and 2, they weren't conceived of as a user interface building language. It was more about styling documents so you can see that history. That's why a simple thing like a simple grid structure, it was such a pain to do, and that's why Bootstrap was invented, because it was such a pain to do. All right, what do we got? I refrain my question. Which platform is safe choice for LMS? I haven't looked at the security issues with all the LMSs out there, so I couldn't give you an informed opinion about that. That said, by default, I would say for simple implementations that are quick, I would just use WordPress. Follow the security protocols, what I suggest. WordPress is pretty good. And the advantage of WordPress is that it has this huge community, but it can be a real pain in the butt trying to do things outside of the core WordPress conception, if you will, in terms of functionality. And the problem with WordPress as it relates is that you got lots of plugins. It's its power and it's also its weakness. There's a lot of plugins are not necessarily the best written software, the WordPress plugins. Now, if you don't know WordPress, it allows you to extend its core functionality through a plugin functionality where other programmers, you got to write PHP, can create pretty powerful extensions to WordPress via the plugin architecture. The problem is a lot of plugins are not necessarily the best written. So when you do use plugins, I always suggest that if it's an important site to you, I would be buying commercial plugins that have good support, because the worst thing you can have happen is have a lousy free plugin that is it's got all kinds of security issues. Pokemon, thanks, Steph, for helping me out in the purchase of your web development course. Not a problem. Let me know how it goes. If you have any questions, you know how to reach me. Steph, do you think that PWA can overtake the native mobile market with native dev being a niche? I think that cross-platform solutions, whether it be Flutter, PWA, React Native, simple responsive sites, will eventually, if it hasn't already, taken over native mobile. Native mobile will never go away 100%. But I think that there's just a lot of these non-native solutions, cross-platform solutions, are just very, 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 very functional, very useful, very capable. Yeah, the water dropping is not water dropping. It's this app. Whenever somebody leaves a comment, it makes that water drop sound. I haven't figured out how to shut it off in the software yet. They don't make it easy. Anyway, I just muted it on my computer, so we should be okay now. So, how are we doing for time? Steph, how would you go about recovering from developer burnout? I've been there. You gotta, first of all, you don't want to get there in the first place, so you want to pace yourself in whatever you do, whether it be development or whatnot. If you already have it, you got to take breaks. You got to start exercising, eating well, drinking lots of water. Trust me, it makes a difference. And doing stuff away from the screen. That's important. And you got to pace yourself. That's my recommendation. Steph, still waiting for your response on PHP Swooly. I never used it, so I don't have a response. I'd have to look into that. All right. Do you plan to teach us about honeypots, web security traps, in future video releases or in your courses? No. In case you don't know, a honeypot is basically a way to help filter out spam in your forms. And they basically put a hidden form element on the side. And then I forget the details now, but it's just a way to attract spammers. Basically, if the script sees that there's people writing to a hidden form element, then it's obviously not a person. but you just type in honeypot code and it'll just pop up. Again, all my teaching courses are designed around the premise of giving you good foundational skills so that you can learn all this stuff very easily on your own. Trust me, I get so many requests. Can you teach me this? Can you teach me that? Can you teach me that? I said, I just teach you how to be a coder, how to think like a developer, and then it's easy to do it on your own. Steph, I got my first freelancer client more focused on PHP, and I have never done PHP before. The motivation to build more than ever. Well, if you got your first freelance client, congratulations on that. There you go. Is your client focused on PHP, or are you just focused on PHP? Do you have any advice for a developer that don't have a degree? Yeah, I think that build up a portfolio site, start developing contacts, start getting more and more jobs under your belt. As you do that, as a freelancer, the degree will become less and less important. Once you have experience, then nobody cares about your degree. Another thing you could do is you can get certifications. And in full disclosure, we've been providing certifications to schools for a long time now, since 2011, I think it is. And we will be providing certification services for the general public soon. So there we go, 26 minutes. All right, we're going to be winding this down. It's been almost a half an hour. Stefan, do you have any idea how I can blog HTTP injections on my web? I would have to see what your code base is all about, and I would see what you mean by that. Make sure everything is SSL, first of all. That's the first thing. Have simple code, but I would have to check to see what you were doing. Hey, Steph, I would be interested in some tips on the idea of creating a Learn platform like StudioWeb, and I am missing what features to build. Can you give me some tips? Well, you have to, not all platforms are the same. You have to figure out your particular use case, meaning what your clients are going to want to see in terms of feature sets, and you have to just build up from there. It's a lot of work, but it could be well worth it in the end. According to you, is programming or UX design better for freelance remote work? Programming. Actually, it's full stack is the best. All right, so how are we doing here? Okay, I think we got everybody. My lighting is going dim. It's getting dark out, that's why. All right. Anthony says, hey, Steph, I recently bought your web development kit. It's really cool, and I like the humor you're using in the quizzes. Yes, I decided to put a lot of humor in my quizzes to make it fun. People kind of like my quizzing. Actually, it's funny. I was on a business trip a little while back, and I was down in the States, and I visited one of the schools that uses StudioWeb. And I was talking to one of the professors, and then I presented to the classroom. And that was the thing what the students said unanimously. They found the quizzing to be super funny. So that was cool. Steph, how should I study Vue.js after your course? What is the best resources? Can you advise? Well, I would just go download Vue.js once you've done my WebStack course and see what you can do with the docs. I think you'll be able to follow along quite well just with the documentation and start using it. And if that does, and after that, if you feel you need more, then I would just maybe look at, go to a YouTube tutorial and just find intro to Vue.js, and you'll be able to follow along pretty quickly. That's one of the reasons why I don't do a Vue.js tutorial, because once you've done my stuff, then all I do is just walk you through the documentation, because you'll point out a YouTube tutorial and you'll be fine because you have your basics. Let's see what we got here. Scroll down a bit more. Yeah, that's good advice. Look up what stack the company you want to work for wants. Yeah, that's very key. I've mentioned that as well. You want to before you go into an interview or submit your resume, you got to research the company, find out what they're working on, what stacks they work on, and then you adjust your portfolio, your resume accordingly. You know, if they're working on Java and you happen to know Java, you don't put Python at the top, you put Java at the top, right? And then when you go in to talk to them, you'll be able to talk to them about what they are doing. That's key. Uh, you know, like I tell people, my current lead developer, I hired him simply because, well, one of the main reasons anyway, is because he was putting good questions to me. He was asking me good questions. And I said, okay, those are good questions about what we were doing and what Studio Web the platform was about, etc. Okay, I just did that one. All right. Louise, Steph, I watched your FU Money video last year. Thank you. In this state of the world, let me sleep well at night. Thank you. Ah, there you go. You see, the FU Money, it helps you in a pandemic. You know, if you don't, you should just check out my FU Money video if you don't know what it is. It's one of the most important lessons I've ever learned from these two they were clients of mine. I called them the Toy Boys, two very wealthy guys who later sold their toy company to a major toy manufacturer. And they taught me the concept of the FU money. And so, yeah, if you have FU money, you sleep well at night. Hey, Steph, do you have any references to Typo 3 CMS? It's also PHP based like WordPress. Is it a good choice? I've never used it, so you would have to do your research on that. I also love your course. Thank you, Didi. I'm glad you like it. Yeah. All right. Hello, Stevan. What would you advise to web developers who want to begin their own business? Well, you got to start, first of all, you want to transition from your current job to the new business. You don't just want to drop everything because learning to run and build a business is a learning curve, first of all. And then there's also the issue of the fact that when you start a new business, there's going to be lag time before it ramps up. The easiest new type of business is freelancing. You can get that going very quick. Much harder is building a SaaS, getting a client for that, but it could be more rewarding in the end. I would suggest you should check out my freelance course and my entrepreneur course. I have a bundle. Not expensive. It'll teach you a whole bunch of information about starting a business. And I've done different types of businesses. So you're going to learn some really good rules that will save you a lot. Just as good as my FU money rules. So yeah, that's my advice to you there. Steph, can you talk about Dart and its future for web dev? I've looked at Dart. Dart is cool. I think I believe it's used for Flutter. It's been a while, but yeah, I would look at Dart as being like a secondary skill set. Again, you learn the basics of programming, the foundations. I teach in my web dev course. I teach in my Python course. Then you could jump to Dart if you have a Dart client or a client wants to use Dart, or you could jump to JavaScript or jump to C#, whatever, you know. Whatever you do, just don't jump to Ruby. Steph, you're looking like a monk, but it suits your experience. Yeah, the hair. You know, I started shaving my hair recently, about the last 6 months. It's very comfortable, but it's kind of like scratchy at the top of the head. It's good, though. If you have really dirty dishes, I could just clean them with the head. But yeah, that's what it is. I just, I kind of like it. That's it. The only problem is I burn the top of my head when I'm driving around in my convertible. How do you recover if your web application gets hacked from a PR standpoint? That's a good question. PR-wise, just make sure you figure out what caused the hack, close it, and then tell people you closed the hack. And, listen, Microsoft's been hacked. Microsoft gets hacked every 2 minutes. Apple's been hacked. Sony's been hacked. Everybody's been hacked. It happens. So that's what I would do. Be transparent about it once you fix things, you know? Stefan looks like Mad Milkinson. Who is that? All right. I'm a physics undergraduate student. Is there any branch where I can combine the knowledge of physics with programming? Yeah, I think that would be game development, perhaps. There's a lot of physics in that, but yeah. Steph, what car do you drive? I drive an Audi S5 Cabriolet. I get a lot of, your question got skipped. I'm going to try and grab it here. Stefan. There we go. Stefan, how should I transition from front end to more of a full stack position? By writing code, by pick a back end language, whatever you do. It's Python or PHP or C#, whatever, and then and then you just start writing code. That's it. One step at a time. All right, what else do we got here? I have to do a Ruby joke. If I don't do a Ruby joke, people are going to start complaining. There's a conversation going on between Louise and Tech Boy. I was just answering someone's questions. However, freelance can be very successful depending on the person, e.g. personal trainer working at a gym versus personal. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. I know people who do very, very well freelancing. I did very well freelancing. Lasha, is freelance web development possible without knowing back-end language? It is indeed, but if you know a little bit of back-end, you're just going to be opening yourself up to many more contracts, that's all. But it's very doable. You could do front-end, UX, UI, professional. Like a guy he does very well with that, in fact. And he does know back-end, which makes him a better front-end developer because he can then structure his front-end code accordingly. And you could also maybe do front-end, UX, UI. You can maybe provide a social web marketing strategy as well. So you could be that part of the equation. Yes, there you go. All right, so how are we doing for time? Okay, 37 minutes. So I'm going to wrap this up. I was going to wrap it up a lot more. I was going to wrap it up sooner, but, and I think I answered maybe, 20% of the questions. Heroku or DigitalOcean? I haven't used Heroku. I use DigitalOcean, so I like it. All right. I think I answered the most important question already, the chicken and egg question. I think I got to that, so I think we're good there. And that's pretty much it. All right. So I will let you go, guys. Okay, I'll answer this one last one. This is the last one. What motivates you daily? Any dev motivation tips? I know seniors do know. Laugh out loud. I don't know. People who are professional coders tend to like to code. They like writing code. What I suggest is you find yourself, I suggest you find out what you like to do in terms of the type of coding you like to do. Because coding is not a monolith, meaning there's all these different types of coding. If you're doing front-end coding, it's very different from doing back-end coding. Or if you're doing coding for small devices with C++ or C, very different from doing web development, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you first of all, you should spend a little time figuring out the type of coding you want to do. And then once you've got that, then you got to figure out what kind of job you like to do, like where do you like to work? Small, medium-sized business or startups, or you want to work for large organizations, you want to do freelance, you want to start your own SaaS. You figure out these things, figure out not only what you want to do, what you like, but more importantly, I would argue, how you like to work. That's very important, how you like to work, because working for a large corporation in that context is very different than working for a small startup or working for a small business. This is what my suggestions are. So once you figure out what you like to do and it's fun for you to work, then it's not work. For example, I'm doing a live stream on Sunday at 4:15 in the afternoon for me, New York time, because it's just fun for me. I feel like doing a live stream today, so I did a live stream. Right? It doesn't feel like work when it's fun, although it is work to a certain extent. But you know what I mean? So there you go. That's my advice. And pace yourself. All right, everybody. Cheers. And it was a 40-minute stream, long enough. And I hope you enjoyed it. And I will try to start scheduling streams and stick to that schedule. I'm going to try to push them earlier so that people in Europe and Africa and Asia can watch these things at a decent hour for them. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.